the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
Hello, everybody. Can you all, okay.
Yeah, I can see you. Welcome, everybody, to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Welcome, everybody, to Friday on the Momentum Mindset Show. So, how is everybody?
We're still doing it.
Again, still doing it, right? Yeah, so I'm Janine, and this is?
Jay Farrow, and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. We're continuing on, albeit from,
everybody to please call in.
And why don't you give us a call, 888-565-1470. We are live on the radio on 95.3 FM in South Florida and on AM 1470. And welcome to the program. We have a lot to talk about, to be support, be a space to keep going, whatever's going on in your life. And I know that we're all going through it. Janine, I saw one of the coaches that we had worked with for a little bit it was like a small commercial or podcast, and he said something that is like everybody on this planet is going through this crisis, and it's all individual. It's all individual based upon our personal circumstances. What we bring to the table.
I'd like to share, I had a conversation, a really powerful conversation this morning with a coachee who also happens to be a coach and a phenomenal professional. And it was interesting when we were sharing, one of the things that came up and certainly has been coming up for me is, as a person in this space, I have a different expectation of myself during crises or when things are difficult. But more than that, I've always had a different expectation of myself. It's only ratcheted up since the designation of coach and person in transformation, etc. But I'd like to share that I am really going through something. I'm very upset pretty regularly these days. And a lot of it has to do with assimilating all of the rapid changes and assimilating language even that didn't exist in our vernacular 3 months ago, 2 months ago, which is social distancing. Mm-hmm. Thinking twice, not being able to hug somebody, not being able to, all of these things that we so took for granted. I didn't expect them to bother me as much as they do. And a lot of things are bothering me, actually, and it's been difficult for me to manage it. But I realized this morning that it's difficult for me to manage it because, according to me, I'm a coach. I'm a person in personal development. This is my life. How could it be hard for me? I have so many tools at my disposal. I should know better. I should feel this way or that way. I realized I was shooting myself to death and wasn't allowing myself to really be in it. Like, I have a pain in the pit. Like, there's something literally going on with me. It's like almost like a mild depression, I would say. Like, all of the signs are there. And I don't say those things lightly, Jay. I mean, you've known me for a really long time. I don't really speak that way.
Is there something in particular that happened? I mean, I know for me, this has now affected my family. And my uncle
This is what? Oh, yeah. That news also hit me hard. I cried my eyes out over it. I've only met uncle a couple of times.
Right.
So share with the audience what is going on with you.
So both my aunt and my uncle were on a cruise, and subsequent to the cruise, they both came down with corona, and they didn't immediately go to the hospital. It was progressive, and even when my uncle was in the hospital, they were going to let him go, like a couple of days ago. And then all of a sudden, like, this thing came back, and I've heard this over and again, that this is what happens with this thing, is that you think it's going away and then it comes back. And there's no rhyme or reason why it affects one person that doesn't affect the other person. I mean, there's all kinds of theories out there. The good news, at least for us, is that we have a tremendous network of people in my family and my fiance that work in the medical field that have supported finding out information, learning the latest and greatest techniques of how they are treating this. But here's the thing, is like my aunt, is sitting at home because she's quarantined. She cannot go to the hospital. She couldn't go to the hospital or anything if she was well. And, of course, the rest of us are scrambling to see how we're going to take care of the affairs that need to be handled in a circumstance like this. They have, they have dogs, they have family, and it's like we're all now as a family coming together with a plan of how to handle this during social distancing and the state, quote unquote, being closed down. And that feeling of helplessness and frustration and wanting information. You might go to the hospital and you can feel like there's some sense you're going to get an answer, or at least you can pull the doctor aside. And when you don't even know who that is, or if you can't even look the doctor in the eye and say, "Hey, what do you think about this one?" It's very, very frustrating for my entire family. So it certainly weighs on me, and he's a strong guy. He's a strong guy, and he's a former Metro-Dade Miami police officer, and part of me growing up and seeing him being a cop was like, part of the reason why I started doing the thing I did with the state attorney's office and wanted to become a lawyer to catch some of the bad guys, So it's fun. As ironic as it might be that the year that he got married, he was 45 years old when he first got married, and he doesn't. So I'll be 45 too when I end up getting married. It looks like so. It's tough. So when you're talking about this ache or this, I don't know. Did you call the feeling of helplessness or hurt?
There's a combined hurt. I touched on this on the last episode, and I'm sharing this. Like, you guys know me, I really am genuinely Little Miss Sunshine. Like, it's no joke. But when I go to the other way, I mean, I go there, and I'm not used to that. I never used to allow myself to go there, but I do that in order, because you get something if you don't allow yourself to be in it. And I think that part of my particular suffering, my kind of flavor or brand of suffering, is pushing against it all the time. Like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way because I know better. Oh, maybe I'll just meditate. Maybe I'll just pray. Maybe I'll just whatever, or I'll just laugh. I'll make somebody else happy. I'll do.
You can't logic your way out of this.
The resistance, right? So the resistance that I create when I start feeling a certain kind of way just perpetuates my cycle. So, like, I'm unhappy. It's what's for dinner. That's it. Like, I'm going to let it be that. Where before I was always trying to make it better for somebody or something. But I realize also too, the way that I'm feeling allows me to further grow and expand my own capacity for compassion for other people. Because we're all human. We're all going through it. I know one of the things that's really affecting me is I haven't seen my father in 2 weeks. I see my father several days out of the week.
Right.
I'm super dedicated to him. He's my beautiful little grumpy cat. You know, as much as I've complained about him over the years, I adore that man, and it hurts me so badly not to be able to see him. And he relies on my company so much, and not being able to be there has been really trying for me. So look, everybody has what they're going through. I want to be sensitive to the fact that there are people who are fighting for their lives tonight. That's clearly not what's happening here, and I don't want to. But I think that I am the majority in the sense that we're all trying to process all kinds of different unfamiliar feelings that are coming up. And I would really encourage people to come out and talk about what it is that they're going through. Because within all of this, we can all find a space to really be compassionate for each other about what goes on, what is happening, the news overload, all of the things that are going on, the uncertainty, the fear.
Let's talk about the news overload for a second, because I turned that off to a large extent, and I noticed that the news overload is one of the things that was creating the anxiety in the first place. I mean, because listening to all the stuff and being, and we have done, because this is not a political show. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about personal growth. We're talking about, breaking through the things in your life that you never thought you could break through to have the life that you want. I mean, and that includes like climbing mountains that you never ever thought that you could possibly climb, and getting through it using the tools of awareness, the tools of mindfulness, the tools of whatever, do whatever it takes, But I will. Yeah. I think on the other side of this break, I want to take a quick break, and on the other side of this break, I do want to mention a couple of things, because I think it's just appropriate, and I want to say at least my 2 cents, given that we have a platform, we have a forum, and I just want to say it. So, listen, if you guys want to call in, 888-565-1470. We'll take any calls, anything that's coming up for you, anything that you're going through. We're here as a space to just listen. We've dedicated a show for the next whenever to have this happen. So we'll be right back after this message.
Stay tuned with us.
There is nothing business about getting defrauded. It is always personal. Did you know that there are special laws that allow victims of personal and business crime the ability to prosecute and collect money damages in court? These laws can triple the amount of damages you may be entitled to. Farrow Law Firm is a boutique firm that prosecutes business crimes in civil courts. At Farrow Law Firm, we support people to stand up to the bullies using unorthodox methods of legal practice, which focuses on urgency and the relentless obsession for justice. If you have been the victim of a business, personal crime, or fraud, give us a call today for a free confidential consultation. Farrow Law Firm, 954-252-9818. Again, if you have been the victim of a business, personal crime, or fraud, give Farrow Law Firm a call at 954-252-9818.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. I was saying right before the break that it's like this is our platform, Janine, and we have used our time and our resources to provide this show for over a year now, and and it seems to me that if you have this ache in your heart about things and about this anxiety and all these things coming up, it seems to me that there is a sense of evil out there. I mean, just a sense of dark energy or something else going on where the world's been turned upside down. But I don't think that the world's been turned upside down for evil. And the reason why I think that is, like, I remember stories a few months ago about in Brazil where they had set the rainforest on fire, and you have a guy in Brazil that's similar to our president in his feelings about the environment. And the Earth is sitting there with literally the lungs of the planet on fire, and nobody is doing anything about it in this country, making a big deal about it, at least on the political spectrum. And now we have a virus basically biting back at human lungs, and basically, you know, it's the Mother Nature will find a way to balance herself out all the time. And when I say Mother Nature, and I'm talking about justice in general, there's only so much that can go in one direction before this universe balances out. So I know that we have pushed the planet to its limits and not really respected the only home we have. And when you create a life, Janine, when you create a life, you have a career, you have your business, you have your friends, you have your colleagues, you have your environment. That's your environment. My environment, our environment is, you know, we have businesses, we have the show, we have our friends, we have our family, your dad, my parents, you know. This is the environment. And if I were to walk around in my environment as if nothing else mattered but, you know, myself and maybe certain people in my family, and I were to then basically get to a point where I was going to protect certain things and not others, and I was going to create a world where, you know, I'm this tyrant, and, you know, and I'm going to do things, whatever it takes to control and to be that tyrant. You start to abuse your environment, you do that long enough, and that environment finds a way to put you in its place.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And that's on a planetary scale. That's on a personal scale. I mean, it's a matter of, you know, justice or balance, harmony is universal. The truth, they say, you know, you can't hide the truth. Well, that's kind of, I don't know about that. I mean, because the truth is always there. The truth is everything. And
the truth is everything. You know, Jay, I think you're so onto something, because I feel like that's a lot of what I'm going through is actually that. It's like a shakeup in what's true for me. It's really interesting that you put it in this way.
What's true for you, what's true for the planet. Like, okay, so you can only deny climate change for so long before, you know, and I give you this crazy example. If you have a pool, and it's a pool that you can swim in, all right? If you were to dump poison into that pool, maybe a couple of teaspoons is not going to hurt the pool, right? But if you continue to do that and pump it in, at some point there's no way that you can swim in a pool. It's your environment. If you pollute your environment by the way that you act, your environment is going to find a way to put you in its place. We've had this example, we talk about it on a thing where the universe will come and they'll hit you with a feather. And if you don't pay attention, the universe is going to show up and going to slap you over the head with a ruler. And then if you don't pay attention, it's going to come with a baseball bat. And then if you don't pay attention then, it's going to hit you with a dump truck. Look, I know for my personal self that when I was so living in unworthiness and not enoughness, that I literally was destroying myself, like my soul, my body, my mind, till my environment said, you're either going to completely do a 180, or there's no more going to be this environment.
Right.
And that happens in businesses, that happens on the planetary scale, and that happens here. So when I see things like, for instance, what I just saw about, there was a website that was just changed. Let me just, like, this is the craziness. Like, the president's son-in-law went on TV yesterday, and he said something about the ventilators aren't. And I'm a little bit emotional about this because my uncle is on a ventilator right now. He said, well, the ventilators are really not. That's not for the state, it's for us. Like, who's us? What does us mean? And the website of our national reserves was modified today by the federal government to say what Jared Kushner said yesterday, okay? And you want to talk about 1984 George Orwell, you talk about newspeak, you talk about flights, people shifting stuff, but that does not affect the truth. The truth is still the truth, no matter if you change your website, if you defraud somebody, no matter what you say, the truth is not going away. Okay, you can push it. You can push off dealing with it. You can ignore it. You can abuse people about it. You can abuse your environment. But guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to find yourself with nowhere else to go. No more objection. No ability to use the same shenanigans
well, I think
anymore.
Part of what you're saying, I think, is so disconcerting because right now we're in such a critical place, something that is so new. I think we could handle war better than we can handle this because we're not prepared. We weren't prepared for a pandemic. That's the truth. But what's more than that is that we don't know what the truth is anymore. Because there's so much manipulation of information. So how do you even know what the truth is? And I think that's something that I feel on a cellular level.
And the thing is, you're right, because I'm not, and mind you, I have my own personal beliefs about the president and everything else. But I'm going to say this, to be fair, because there's no yin without a yang, all right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
There's no yin without a yang. There are media outlets out there, okay, that will promote an agenda. And as soon as that starts and you lose your legitimacy, there was a newscaster, I don't know, it was on one of the major networks. Anyway, he made up a story about his time in war. And I forget what the whole thing was.
Oh, yes, Brian Williams.
Okay, so if and then they took him off the air for a little bit, and then he was doing, I think he still does some work for
no, he's super late night at MSNBC.
The thing is that when you start on one end and you start exaggerating things, or you start, manipulating the thing, and your job is to be a neutral teller of reality as a newscaster, I mean, then at what point does that not be okay and you can't look at that? I mean, you look at the thing with in Congress. I mean, I see that Adam Schiff is trying to do some things to kind of hide parts of his investigation, and I'm just like, what? What are you doing? I mean, you see Schumer going out and talking things about the Supreme Court. I'm like, how is it that you cannot have a monopoly on goodness or the truth or being the good guy if you're out there doing whatever you're doing? And here's what you're saying is so powerful, is because we get lost in the manipulation of ourselves as to what the truth actually is. Because you tell yourself, I'm a handsome guy, I'm doing things right, I'm good to people, I'm a charitable guy, I'm a church-going man. You know what? You start to believe that the next time that you swipe somebody's stuff, or you take something from them that doesn't belong to you, or you hurt them, it doesn't, it's like, well, I'm a good guy. And then you start to manipulate yourself as to what the truth actually is. But here's the thing. The reality is, at least in my case right now, my uncle's on a ventilator. who've got this thing that nobody knows. The doctors don't know. The reality is the doctors do not know if these treatments are going to work. So you can manipulate whose ventilators this is, and you can change something on a website, or you can blame somebody, and then you do all this this magic stuff. And at the end of the day,
finger pointing.
It's like this is all our environment. And it's like if you're pissed, guess what? We all created it. Because whether it's passively by not going out and voting, or not going out and taking up of the cause, or turning a blind eye when somebody lies or manipulates facts, everybody, you're all accountable for it. Now, some maybe more than others, but I'm looking at this because this has come up a couple of times in at least our business, where nobody accepts responsibility. When, in fact, right now,
nobody wants it.
It should not matter who's responsible or accountable. It's like, hey, how are we going to all work together? And let me get on the phone with whatever country that it is to get some ventilators together. And guess what? That $2 trillion that we're handing out checks to people to, we have more of that to buy more stuff to get people to do the things that we need to do. So there's no, again, I mean, I think the greater message of what I'm getting into, and I'm really into this right now, is that you can't say that you didn't know this was coming. You can't say that we didn't know. You can't say that.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
maybe it's not the time for any of this, and the blame and everything else. Because I get blamed for stuff all the time. I mean, it's just part of the thing. Because when something goes wrong, nobody wants to look inside and say, "Hey, that was me. That was something that I did."
Right.
But no matter if it's me personally dealing with my own body, my own business. It's the thing is how am I treating my environment? How am I treating my space? Because the universe is going to give me feedback. It's going to give me feedback as to what am I doing, And I like to say, if we're doing what we do in our business, sometimes we know we're doing the right thing by the right people getting upset. If that makes any sense. But I'm having a difficult time, listening.
What? I'm sorry, you cut out. Jay?
He dropped.
Okay, so you know what? We're going to take a short break and sort out our technical difficulties. Everybody, please stay with us, and we will see you right after this break. Thank you.
There is nothing business about getting defrauded. It is always personal. Did you know that there are special laws that allow victims of personal and business crime the ability to prosecute and collect money damages in court? These laws can triple the amount of damages you may be entitled to. Farrow Law Firm is a boutique firm that prosecutes business crimes in civil courts. At Farrow Law Firm, we support people to stand up to the bullies using unorthodox methods of legal practice, which focuses on urgency and the relentless obsession for justice. If you have been the victim of a business, personal crime, or fraud, give us a call today for a free confidential consultation. Farrow Law Firm, 954-252-9818. Again, if you have been the victim of a business, personal crime, or fraud, give Farrow Law Firm a call at 954-252-9818.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, Jay, we lost you right before the end of the last segment. So please fill us in with what you were saying.
I was saying that, I was just talking about a little bit of part of our business. Sometimes, we send things out, lawsuits and the like, and, people get upset. And, we might have some new listeners joining us today. I want to welcome you to this show.
Yeah, really, very exciting to know that we've spread our reach.
To know that you're watching. Actually, we had some news this week that we do have some new listeners, at least two, this show and potentially the verdict that we also have. It's not a podcast, guys. Radio show.
Anyway, that being said, okay, so again, let's do our call to action. People, the number is 888-565-1470. Do not be shy or write into us. What are people going through? I think that some people, listen, I know that most people, for the most part, everyone's trying to make the most of it, which I think is really great. And I will share that I've had some extraordinary moments. I shared with you guys that I'm getting my cook back on. Been amazing. Been making some really lovely meals and enjoying some time, some family time during the weekend, actually being outside in the sun, doing things that I don't usually do. And as a resident of Florida, that's just sad, right? So not enjoying the outdoors as much as I could. There are redeeming things in this, and I see it. And I have experienced it in this time. And I think that sometimes I don't realize how nostalgic I am about certain things or sentimental I am. Hat on. But I would be interested to know what is going on for everybody. We have our friend Glennie, who is a huge supporter of the show. So, Glennie, I would encourage you to share with us, if you can, on Facebook, what's it like to be stay in place or shelter in place in Washington State? I mean, what's going on with people all over the country? I think that my brother had an incident today on his Zoom call where one of his coworkers apparently was streaming porn in the middle of a huge office meeting. So everyone could see it. So in the middle of the day, I have my brother laughing hysterically because of that. I was dying. It was so funny. But then when I shared this with your mom, actually, and she's like, no, Zoom is actually being hacked, and this is happening to a number of people. And anyway, you just got to, can you imagine?
I can't. There's, I think, Glennie, I can't read.
Okay, so Glennie is saying, well, one thing is I'm staying at home, staying away from people, and I'm listening to what the governor says, and what the governor has to say during this time. So, yeah. Okay, so Glennie, you point to something, something that really hurts my heart is that we have to stay away from people. This innately troubles me. And it's all we can do to stay safe and not spread the disease. I mean, it's the reality. But I said to my sister-in-law today, I can't wait to go bumping and grinding at a club. And let's face it, I don't even do those things. But I'm really looking forward to it.
So in my neighborhood, in the hood, people are out. People are out there bike riding. They're walking their dogs. I see people playing with their kids. And I have not seen a family playing ball with their kids for years.
Correct.
I
the same thing happening in my neighborhood.
The time. You couldn't come down my street when I was growing up on an afternoon without the kids being out doing stuff, building forts, riding our bikes, playing an afternoon football game in the backyard. All kind, but people I'm seeing, they're out, they're enjoying their families, and they have their pods, they have their quarantine pods, and people are hanging out with one another. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are alone.
Yeah.
And,
and to people who are alone, reach out. If you want company, listen, again, Zoom happy hours. Porn might be thrown in the middle of it. It's no one's fault. It's streaming accident.
So I was just talking about environment, right? So if you talk about like you're all in a conference Zoom call and then that stuff comes out, I mean, that's.
I know.
Can
you imagine it happened to a woman coworker? How mortified she might be. Oh my God! But the funny thing about the Zoom thing is that sometimes people think their video is not working, so they'll show up to the meeting naked, or they'll be like going to the bathroom. They forget to turn their cameras off. I mean, all kinds of really funny things.
I had a mediation last week or the week before. And, I did it in shorts. And I told everybody, this is great. I'm sitting in a mediation. I don't think I was the only person, in casual attire, sitting at their house. I mean, we're all home. Everybody that I know is in legal land has been brought down to the same thing. We're all at home. We're hanging out with our families. We're hanging out with our dog, and, we're not at our offices with the usual stuff, and I got to tell you, there's been like the more. Whoa! I almost said it. Like I've gotten more work done because of all this than I ever have, and I've learned things about myself, about how I work and how do I work effectively, and the times of days that I do work. And what is supportive of me is no distractions. I mean, I was going to law libraries, and I was writing my stuff just so I didn't have a phone going off or anybody asking me any questions when I was doing my work for a number of months. And now it's like I'm able to do it from the house. I mean, where I get to sit down, and after I eat my breakfast, and it's like 7:00 in the morning till whenever, I'm in flow. And that feeling of being in flow is just it makes me feel really, really good. I do wake up with anxiety. I do wake up with a lot of anxiety because it is a new normal. And your body's like, wait a second, aren't you supposed to be here? Aren't you supposed to be there? It's like, aren't you supposed to be, at an office? And that's the part that also...
well, I think what also creates a lot of the anxiety, and I don't know if you experienced this, and I'd love for our listeners to... What I think creates a lot of anxiety for me is not knowing the length of time. In other words, like, I think it's going to be a lot longer or shorter than we think, but the point is we don't know. Like, there's no definitive to when it could happen, and you hear so many different things. It's May, it's June, it's August, it's December, 2020 is canceled, it's all kinds of things. And I think that all of those narratives are actually what irks me, and it tells me a lot of information about myself, but really humanity in general, how we buy into what we think certainty is and security is. If this virus has not shown us anything, it's shown us that we have worshipped false gods, and because nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. Our life is not certain. It's a huge reminder that it's not. And you said something really powerful. The doctors don't understand why some people get sick and some people don't. What are the mitigating there are risks, people of higher risk, of course.
People that are sitting home that are sick, they're not going to the hospital that I know. It's like, it's insane. Because some people, we just talked to a client just not too long ago, and they're saying the news has overhyped this. This is like, the mantra of, we were just talking about the truth and things like that. This person just regurgitated the Fox News litany of people saying it's a hoax, it's a political thing, and how dangerous that. And I had.
Okay, I hate to say that, but we watch all news outlets here, Jay. Like, unfortunately, I even watch news from Brazil and all over. And I'm not a news watcher, but that's actually not. I haven't heard anybody calling it a hoax on Fox News. To be honest with you, I have not heard that. They're taking it all really seriously. They're politicizing the hell out of it, but so are all of the outlets.
In the beginning of this, they were, and then after that, the talking points of some of the conservative radio that's out there has just been like that. I'm just saying, I just heard it. There's like, it has an effect when it's like if people said this 2 months ago or a month and a half ago or even last month, it's like it's out there, and it's like going back to this thing about the environment and truth. You can only human, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, the human being only has so much money, so much power, so much influence, but none of that compares to what you actually did. I know that. I mean, I know that as much as I can BS myself, there's a thing inside of me, no matter how long it's been, that says I know the difference. And then that button has come up a lot less over the last few years. You know, I got tired of getting hit with the ruler and the bat from the universe, saying, "Hey, what are you thinking?" Now, we have things that come up in our life all the time where it feels like, you know, you get hit with a bat, but there's a distinction, I think, when the universe is saying, "Hey, this is your mountain. This is what you asked for, and if you want to go to where you say that you want to go, here are the lessons and the journey to get there."
Yeah,
if I've called out
I agree with that
my destiny, which I have, I've called out my purpose and my desires and my destiny of wanting to be the stand for people that would otherwise not have a voice in justice. And I'm going to where that's going to be that voice. Well, guess what? It's not an easy road. It's not an easy road,
really not.
You know, for anybody that would stand up to the powers that be that say that this is the way it's always been and it will never be anywhere else. Someone said something to me the other day, you know, well, these are the tried and true methods of doing X, Y, and Z. You know, and I was like...
Well, it's interesting that you say that because the tried and true methods, if we all adhered to that, there would never be any innovation, right? So it does take a spirit of, you know, having the guts to ask a different kind of question and sort of bump up against tried and true in order to innovate, in order to create new ways, in order to create new possibilities.
We all had beepers and cord phones, you know, 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was the way, and that was the way it is. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Kim, how are you?
Oh, she's going to watch the show later. So I don't know if I finished with this piece about this truth and what I'm seeing out there, and there is frustration not being able to do your life the way that you want to do your life. And for me, one of the greatest challenges in my life is patience. It's allowing this process, because you just brought this up of like, well, you know, how long is this going to take, you know? And I've seen things that can go into September and and afterwards, and I have developed a routine that supports me. I've also been cooking. I've also been journaling. I've been now playing the piano a lot more on Facebook. I've been working with my collaborators on the musicals that I'm working on. So that not knowing of what's going to happen in September, I have a good friend that says to me, how dare I, you know, expect to live that long, you know? What rights do I have to that time if I'm not appreciating what I have right now? Like another friend says, take what is offered, which is right here, right now. Everything that I have in front of me that's in my environment is offered for opportunity, and it's also offered for me to run, hide, skip out, check out. It's all offered for me to make whatever I make with it, you know. And I see the things that I'm grateful to have right now. I mean, just to be able to see you here on the show, to have people calling in, we are able to communicate. Isn't this the coolest thing, though? If we were going to ever have time in our life to quarantine, to be able to have the ability to just talk to anybody in the world. We had a Zoom call today. There was 5 people on the Zoom call, you know?
Yeah, it was really cool.
there was at the mediation we did the other day. There was someone in Brazil. There was someone in California. There was somebody in Alabama. It was just amazing that we all have this ability to communicate. But yes, that feeling of when is it going to be so I can go out and what do you say, bump and grind, you know?
Ready.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
I think that's what it is.
On again?
Yeah. And inventing, look, last Friday after the show, I'm quarantined with my brother and sister-in-law and 16 and 18-year-old niece, who, by the way, poor things. I think the youth they're the ones who are really dying. I mean, they actually think that boredom is an infectious disease and that they can actually die from it, which I think is hilarious. I'm like, y'all, no one ever died of boredom. Go, invent something. I don't know. Figure it out. But we did karaoke that night. We did all kinds of really different things. So you're right, Jay. I think that every now and then, I am personally allowing okay, so everybody has a different flavor. My thing is to actually allow myself to feel down in the dumps. That's actually my stretch. My stretch is to stop trying to negotiate myself out of it and tell myself that, oh, you should feel better, Janine. That's my stretch, right? For somebody else, it's the opposite. Because they allow themselves to wallow in that place way too long. So we all have our different things.
For me, I'm working out 2 hours a day. I mean, I'm actually in the best shape of my life because of this thing. I'm eating better and I'm working out, and I want to thank my personal trainer Janine, J9 Fit, and she every single morning she sends me a new workout, and I really appreciate the fact that I have the exercise equipment at my house that I do, and that I'm actually doing it, and I'm actually getting into some pretty intense routines. We have a few minutes left to see if we can get someone to call 888-565-1470. We are live on the radio, 95.3 FM and 1470 on the AM dial. And
yay, definitely. I would encourage people to feel your feelings. Don't bury things because it'll just come back and bite you in the butt.
Right.
I can attest to that. And keep going. It's an and world. It's not either or. It's and. I mean, I still get up. I still, sometimes I'm breezing through my day, and sometimes I realize I'm dragging through my day. That's indicator number one. Okay, Janine, you don't feel good. You're certainly not yourself, what's going on kind of thing. But whatever is coming up for you, there is always room, even if it's for a few minutes a day, to appreciate everything that we have. We are, every time we sit down for a meal together as a family, we pray and we think about the people who don't have enough to eat and how fortunate we are, and we think of things that we can do for them.
Wow.
And so, we get to appreciate what we have, and we get to appreciate our health, because as we can see, without that, we are nothing.
Everything that I have in my life right now, I appreciate. I mean, I was looking around my house and my neighborhood, and I have the dog, and I have everything, and my fiance is here, and she's not having to go into work that many days this week, and it's just I'm feeling that sense of real gratitude for everything that I have going on in my life. And even the lessons that have been presented to me in the last couple of weeks, I've turned those, and there were challenges, turned to lessons, and now they're blessings. I'm grateful for the team that I have at my office, in my life, for you. I just got news from my aunt that my uncle's basically in the same spot. So, I'm gonna.
Well, we'll continue prayers.
Pray for him. But here's even this. I have the ability to have information at the ready, right? It's So at least knowing what's going on makes you feel a little bit better, you know? So...
Yeah, definitely.
We are certainly going to open up our lives. If you want to send us a direct message on Facebook to Jay Farrow or to reach out to us on the Momentum Mindset Show, go ahead and do that during the week. We will be here next week to be doing what we're doing. We've kind of made the decision after seeing the news about what's going to happen in the next number of weeks to be a support here on the radio with the Momentum Mindset Show.
Absolutely.
And using this time for this hour, for all of us to get together and connect. And if you're out there and you're struggling, send me a message. Talk to us. We're here to be that.
We are here.
It's not easy to say this or to do it, but this could be the moment. This could be your moment to start taking that 10-minute walk that's going to turn it into an exercise program, to start writing that journal that's going to turn into the book, to start writing that that song that's going to turn into a musical, to reach out. And listen, because of what's happened with my uncle, I've now spoken to my cousins and my aunt, and we're starting to connect again. So there's all these possibilities to make it your moment. Make it your moment to come to yourself in honesty, to come to yourself, to become who you've always been, and without the masks, without the nonsense.
Yeah. I agree with that. It is an opportunity.
Yeah, for me, it's all kinds of moments, and I'm feeling it, and I feel more energized, more pumped, more ready for the road, and certain in my purpose, and clear.
Yeah, it's certainly an opportunity for all of us, I think, to reflect on where we've been, this sort of pause, right? Even though Jay and I are working nonstop, I haven't had too much of a pause, to be honest with you. I'm starting to take a day or two to be very sacred during the weekend, because I realize that if I'm going to be who I want to show up to be, I've got to disconnect at least one day a week. But take time to consider what this pause can mean for you. Did you need to reinvent yourself? Were you really happy doing what you were doing? Do you have an opportunity to maybe create something different for yourself? Were you just so much into doing this you didn't even notice that you were happy, or do you miss it? Do you connect to the fact that you love it? It's a wonderful opportunity to take some time and reflect on what it is that you actually want out of your life, and really live intentionally.
There's fun to be had if you know how to have fun with anything that you're doing. It's at the end of the day, when this guy was saying that everybody's going through this and everybody in the world's going through it, however they want to experience it, guess what? You get to decide in every moment, how do you want, am I going to let the rest of the nonsense, that I would otherwise be concerned about bringing down, or, am I going to enjoy walking my dog for a little while? Am I going to enjoy this process? And then, you know what? You can start to have a little fun with even the things that you thought were very challenging. And once you get to that level, I'm learning that that's the good stuff right there. That's really good stuff. And listen, thank everybody for listening. And
we thank you all for spending time with us this evening. We wish you to have a beautiful and safe and healthy weekend. And reach out to us. We are stronger together.
Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, Please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.